I can tell you,
No.
you should have.
I might.
But when you were starting doing all these kind of indies, because like you just mentioned before we started talking on how you basically went from indies to Japan. Because, like, once again, I'd never heard the name until I started reading about you in Japan.
Yeah, so I had done a little bit of indies, and then the way that it had worked locally was that, it was IWA, right?
And then became No Holds Barred.
NHB, right. So what you guys were doing, your production was our WWE. We were always aspiring to be part of those shows. So that was sort of the first big step for me. Once that had disappeared, we had to think about, okay, wait a minute, our WWE, quote unquote, is now gone. We have to think outside of these borders, or, we just have to accept that we're doing this as a hobby. We have to grow as performers. So I started to think about taking trips outside of Winnipeg, and there was an NWA convention that was held in Winnipeg. They had brought in a bunch of outside talent. I had wrestled Petey Williams, who was the NWA X Division champion at the time. And the match went well. And I think for me that was a great confidence boost. And I thought I can actually have good matches and perform at a pace that is beyond Winnipeg now. So I should think about maybe just trying, So I had went to a camp with Harley Race. He does a camp once a year at WLW in Eldon, Missouri. And the winners of this camp, it was treated like a competition. They would go to Pro Wrestling Noah and be inserted into their dojo system, because going to Japan was like the end goal. It's what I really wanted to do.
And why is that? Were you a fan of all that?
I was, yeah. For the longest time, ECW was like the place where I just really wanted to go. I fell in love with, watching highly athletic and sort of not rated R, but PG-14 style wrestling. I mean, I was a teenager, right? So I'm gonna like this hard edge type stuff. It was about at that time because ECW used a lot of guys that had experience all over the world.
Sure.
I mean,
that was their forte.
Right, yeah. So they were using guys like Taka. They were using guys like Jinsei Shinzaki and Mike Awesome and who's an ECW guy, but Mike Awesome versus Masato Tanaka. They had that series there. And I fell in love with that type of style. And I also loved that all the guys that went from ECW to WWE had a certain kind of impact upon their arrival. And I just thought that was really cool. Like, they were known as, the ECW guys invading WWE. And I had thought that as cool as it would be to go directly to WWE or F at the time, whatever it was, it'd be great to have that kind of decorated resume and then coming into a situation where people knew who you were already.
Right, sure.
Yeah. So, I did a lot of studying, bought a lot of tapes from RF Video or whatever it was.
What a concept of tapes, right?
Yeah.
There was no YouTube back at that time.
Yeah, so I was buying like Matches of the Decade, Volume 1, Matches of the Decade, Volume 2 and 3. So I would learn that way who was good, who was bad, what kind of guys I should be studying and what the landscape was out there. And I fell in love with Japan, and I already loved the culture and wanted to go there as a vacation spot anyway.
So when you went to the Harley Race camp, then
it was with that intention. Yeah, like this is going to be the big step one. I'm going to have my dojo experience, kind of like how you had experience in Japan and Mexico and all of ECW before finally. I wanted to be. It sort of felt like the right way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Yeah.
So did you go to Noah first then?
No. What happened was Noah. What happened was, as a surprise, Harley introduced the grand prize of this competition, and that was Johnny Ace coming out and saying that they're going to offer a WWE contract to the camp standout.
Really?
And yes. So even though I was gunning for Noah, I ended up being the guy to win this developmental contract with WWE. So for a year, and I believe it was 2005 to 6 or 6 to 7, I was in Deep South Wrestling.
You're kidding me? I didn't know that.
So I was employed by you guys at a certain point in time.
Was it Jody Hamilton was running that one?
Yes, that's the one.
Who else was there with you?
In terms of like the wrestlers, Miz was there. Right when I showed up, he was just there packaging him for TV, so he was only there for a little bit.
Yeah.
One of the Ascension guys, I think it's called the Ascension.
So there's a few guys. But
there was a few dudes, yeah. And there's some, Sonny Siaki was there. A couple of guys that I keep in touch with now that are my friends are there. It's a good group of guys. They're all very nice. But the experience just kind of reinforced more what I had thought already, was that I really need to make something of myself outside of here before coming here. Because I was a nobody, and I understood that I was a nobody, and that these guys are going to treat me like a nobody and not trust me with anything, any of my own ideas. But I had felt that I could be this guy that could make this company millions and millions of dollars, but I just had to prove first that I could do that on my own, by my own accord.
Prove it to yourself, too.
And yeah, exactly. Am I just insane? Am I just this weird kid? You know what I mean?
Weird and quirky.
Yeah. Am I from Winnipeg? You know. So I decided to put in my my notice and just give it another shot in the Indies and see if I could get to Japan and work my way from the bottom up there.
It must have been kind of a tough decision to kind of walk away.
It was. And I remember that the morale there was really low at one point in time, and Johnny Ace had said, hey, I've heard that a lot of guys don't like it here and they want to quit, and if that's the case, just come talk to me first and we'll have a chat. So it's not that my morale, the day-to-day stuff wasn't good because the morale was low. Like, it sucked to be around such negativity all of the time, but I didn't mind the training. I loved the physicality of the training, contrary to what other people might think. I loved doing a ton of push-ups and squats and running. That stuff is all fine by me. It was that I felt that there was no light at the end of the tunnel. Like, I was always just going to be this kid that was treated as a green piece of trash, and you know what I mean? And there's no way to grow from that. So I talked to Johnny and said, like, hey, look, I'm not going to lie. When you met me at the camp, I had really just wanted to go to Japan, and I do feel like I can make something of myself there, and I think I could be of more use to you if you understand that, first and foremost, you know, I'm a star coming from there. And I mean, even looking back at it now, some guy who's just a no one telling you, like, hey, I can be a star here, what do you think? You know, why would you believe him? You know? But Johnny was cool about it, and he said, like, hey, I have contacts in all Japan. I'll let you know and see if I can send you out there. If that's really the path you want to take, I know that you're talented. I saw you in person. We can send you out there, and when you're ready, let me know, because the door's always open. Johnny was always super
Well, Johnny
cool
would understand the benefits of working in Japan.
Definitely,
right?
yes. So I felt like I was talking to the right guy to begin with.
Understand,
yeah. Things fell through, and I wasn't able to go to all Japan. He'd said that, okay, you have no name value, and they just can't accommodate, you know, just some mark at this point in time. So good luck in your future endeavors. And that part was crushing, because I had thought I was going to segue from one thing to another.
Straight into another,
yeah, exactly. But then it was that period where I had to feel, I guess I had to regain that hunger again. And so I just went back to I took a little bit of time away to think about what I was going to do next, and I just started plugging away again, and here we are today, I guess.
But it's interesting, though, like you said, Don, about having the international experience and having like a little bit of a different outlook. But I think also, too, and you'll probably appreciate this because you did it as well, it gives you life experience when you travel around.
Yes.
Not just being in one place and going into a foreign country and trying to find something to eat at 2 a.m. or whatever it may be.
Well, I think, too, it's like what gives you perspective. I mean, so my first international trip was South Africa. I worked in front of people who thought this was a shoot and wanted to murder me. So as a result of that, when I was in ECW and I would be warned about crowds, it didn't bother me, and I was able to push the line. So I'm like, well, I survived that. What are these? These people aren't going to shoot me. They may punch me, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So and all of those trips and all of those experiences shape you along the road. And I think what Kenny's describing that he did took a lot of balls to walk away and go do your own thing. Because the easy thing to do would just be to stick there, because you probably had a lot of people saying, like, what are you, crazy?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I feel that a lot of people, too, fall into this trap, indie wrestlers. They just want to see WWE on the paycheck. They don't care if they're riding the pine. They don't care if they're spinning their wheels. They just want to be there. That's enough. I want to be contributing, and I want to be making a difference. And that is why, even though I could have just done what I had been doing, been an enhancement guy on their developmental TV and collected a paycheck, I think after my 3-year term had been up, I don't think they would have re-signed me.
Yeah.
You know, what did I show? You know what I mean? What did I prove? And unfortunately, for a lot of guys that are at the Performance Center right now, they will unfortunately never show what they really have to offer because, you know, they just marked out to have the check. You know, they just wanted to be an employee for the company, which is fine, and that's a great end goal. But for me, I wanted to make a little bit of a lateral movement and come back to the issue when I showed what I was truly capable of.
Well, absolutely, and like I said, that doesn't last very long either. If you do show up for, if you're working in developmental or NXT, just in the lower ends, when you get fired, it's hard to get back in.
Definitely
to any type of position there, because that I think a lot of guys go there too quickly as well. I mean, I told Harry Smith that years ago when he said he wanted to quit and go back to Japan. It's like, why wouldn't you, man? You're like not even 30 years old. You're not doing anything here, and you have a big potential and a big upside. Go back over there and see how it goes. And that was good that you did that too, Kenny. And I think something I wanted to bring up between the three of us as well. I think from growing up in Winnipeg, we do have a tougher mental and physical attitude. Because growing up here, it's not like it's the Wild West, but it's not easy to grow up in Winnipeg.
No.
You know what I mean? It does toughen you, I think.
Yeah, and just as a wrestler, we're not in the ideal geographical location.
Mm-hmm.
If I am looking to get work at, insert name here, that's going to be an expensive flight. How am I going to prove that I'm worth that flight? I've got to be good.
Right.
So I have to make sure that I'm trained. I got to make sure that, when I think of how I put my matches together, when I think about how I'm making this character, that it's going to get over with fans and that I'm giving them their money's worth and making the promoter money on top of that too. So I can't just be a guy that, okay, if I get in my car and drive half hour away, I'm working for the best indie in America or whatever, and that's good enough. Mm-hmm. I had to hold myself to a higher standard just to get work.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure it was the same for you as well.
It was a little bit easier for you because I had a dual citizenship.
Yeah.
But it was the same, though. I mean, I realized really early on that you're not going to make a big mark just being in Winnipeg. You have to get out and go other places. And once again, that life experience comes in very handy.
The hard thing, too, here was there really wasn't a support system.
How do you mean?
Well, so when Jerry Morrow and Gama and Bad News, really Jerry and Gama came here in 94, Jerry took me under his wing, and he's like, I'm going to watch your matches. I'm going to tell you. He was very hard on me because Jerry's very tough. But there was no one here to do that. I mean, the Sheik was really cool to me, but the Sheik hadn't been booked anywhere.
Right. He doesn't know.
Tony was a promoter, and he gave me good business advice, but there was no one giving you that wrestling advice. So it became very hard. And I, like all of us, I quickly realized, okay, as long as I'm getting these overseas trips, I'm going to stay wrestling. The minute that had stopped, because in 94 I said I'm giving myself 2 years to get a tryout with Vince, and then if I don't, I'm out. Mm-hmm. The minute those trips had stopped, I would have stopped because I'd already done everything here locally that you could do, TV, whatever. And it's like you don't have that support system. So when I kind of moved on, I tried on a couple of occasions with a couple of guys to be that support system. But the weird thing was, and we were talking about this earlier in Winnipeg, guys would be like, no, I'm going to listen to Bobby J or, Jabroni number 2 who trained me. And I'd be like, would you take your car to a mechanic who'd never been under the hood? Like nothing against some of these guys.
It's the truth,
They've
though.
never
It's
been
the
anywhere.
truth.
How can they tell you how to get there?
Yeah, exactly.
But guys here didn't want to listen. And so I just gave up and said, well, I'm not going to help guys because they're not listening.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why I moved to Calgary. I remember when I was first wanting to train, my dad actually had a conversation with Candello about training and kind of got a little bit of a F off.
Do you have any money on you right now?
Basically, yeah. And then we go to Calgary where, I mean, it was basically the same, but Calgary was Calgary. It had the vibe of being Calgary and Stampede Wrestling.
It doesn't have the vibe anymore since Winnipeg has beaten Calgary, but that's a whole other
yeah, but still, the place to go, right? To be there, you knew that you couldn't get that in Winnipeg, which is what we're basically all saying,
Yeah.
That is funny because you did have the Winnipeg versus Calgary debate on Killing the Town.
It wasn't much of a debate. It was a slaughter, wasn't
it? According to Lance, it's his fans that won it. I mean, the funny thing about
his fans being Kenny's.
Yeah.
Well, of course.
We're chatting about it, and I was like, he's like, was that a shoot? And I'm like, well, I put the tweet out just to twig Lance.
And it was basically just you give a background on what it was. It was the same.
Basically, I was thinking when I'm like, okay, wait a minute. I was like, because someone had mentioned Kenny to me, and I was like, okay, you got Kenny, you got Jericho, you got Piper, then you got me on the other end there. I'm like, that's a pretty good 4 guys who made it, right?
That's right, yeah.
And I'm like, well, who's from Calgary? Like, actually from Calgary? It's like, well, it's the Heart. So, like, Brett Owen, okay, I get it. Oh, I'm going to put out a tweet about this, just to get a little attention. And Lance, I think, legit got hot.
Of course he did.
And he's, getting hot. So then we decided to make it a thing. And I said to Lance, I go, I know, you just don't like the fact that Omega's a better athlete than you. That didn't go over well. That's when you lost 5 inches of height in his eyes.
Right, yeah.
All right, Kenny, not only are you from Winnipeg, but let's talk about how you made the transition from being a junior heavyweight in New Japan to being in the main event, a heavyweight in the Tokyo Dome. But before we do that, we need to talk about another wrestling friend of mine, one that's not from Winnipeg. I'm talking about Diamond Dallas Page. And you know why we're talking about Dallas? Because of his incredible DDPY program. I wouldn't have won the U.S. title without DDP Yoga. I am proof that DDPY works. Look what was done for my wrestling career. I had an amazing run in 2016. Not slowing down in 17, man. I mean, you see what's happening with my WWE career. You see the Fozzy Tour, big gig starting up in May, working on the new record now. I'm able to do all these huge festival gigs, fly around the stage, sing at the top of my lungs using my core, thanks to DDPY. It's keeping me loose and flexible, helping me to do everything I need to do in life, professionally, and at home. So get your health and fitness on track here in the new year and do it with DDPY. And now is the time, too. You got to jump on this tremendous deal that Dallas is offering. You get 25% off all DDPY merch and swag. And when you buy a Max Pack combo or a combo pack, you get a second for 50% off. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Jericho. And yeah, when you buy the DDPY DVDs, you also get 3 free months of the DDP Yoga Now app. All right. And with that app, you can do DDPY anytime, anywhere, right from your phone or tableta. The app not only lets you do all the workouts right from your phone, it's also got a bunch of other cool special features to keep you on that path to healthy living. And DDP Yoga Now app subscribers won't ever get bored doing the same workouts over and over again, because DDP has added completely new 2.0 workouts and weekly live workouts from the amazing DDP Yoga Performance Center in Smyrna, Georgia. I was there last week with Speewee. We went and checked it out. What a great facility. We're going to be doing a lot of work upcoming there, a lot of Fozzy work as well. Because like I said, Dallas is a great motivator, and he's very, he's on to something huge here. And just to share it with all you guys, very generous. He's offering all of you this incredible deal on DDPY. Here it is. You get 25% off all DDPY merch and DVDs. And if you buy a Max Pack or a combo pack, you'll get a second one for 50% off the original price. That's already 25% off. I mean, that's just a steal. You're stealing from Diamond Dallas Page. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Jericho and be a DDPY thief. You got permission, of course. And that's all you got to do to take advantage of this great deal. Just go to ddpyoga.com/Jericho. That's ddpyoga.com/Jericho. Change your life and do it today. Get in the best physical and mental shape you've ever been in, and do it now. All right, Killing the Town, Cyrus, and I have plenty more questions for Kenny Omega as we get wild here in Winnipeg. Hey, let's get wild. Hey, let's go to Salisbury House. You still got to find out about Kenny's gimmick, the cleaner, the videos he does with the Young Bucks when he's on the road in Japan, the match he had with a blow-up doll, and the other match he had with a 7-year-old little girl. If you haven't seen these matches, go online right now and type in Kenny Omega blow-up doll, Kenny Omega little girl. You're going to see some. You talk about having a match with a broomstick. Kenny had a great match with a little girl and with a blow-up doll. Yeah, like a blow-up doll. You know what I'm talking about. But you're going to check all those stories out. But before we get there, I want to say thanks to all the great sponsors of Talk is Jericho, including TrueCar. Now remember, TrueCar helped me buy my Cadillac Escalade last year. They made it so easy